When the chips are down, place another bet. Poker. Okay, hello and good morning. Welcome to another English podcast with Paul. Wherever you are, please focus on what's important right now. If you're driving, please concentrate on the road. If you're doing your chores in the house or studying or commuting, then crank up that volume, ready to listen to my beautiful voice. Here we go. Right, poker. But before we dive in, I must tell you, this is natural, native, unedited, unscripted conversation for advanced listeners. Okay. I have some notes. I want to be a little bit professional, just pretending to be professional. So I have some notes. I've got a squeaky chair as well. So apologies for that. Apologies. It's not my chair. I'm in another different house, another different day. You'll notice the background changes a lot. Right, okay. Focus. Let's concentrate. Today we're talking about poker. Poker. I recently read an article about £12 million payout. Sorry, 12 million, I say it with gravitas, $12 million payout for the winner of this poker tournament. Okay, poker tournaments are a big deal, and recently the WSOP, World Series Online Poker, I think that's what it is, paid out 12 million to its latest winner in Las Vegas. Yes, $12 million and a golden bracelet with over 2,000 precious stones embedded in it. Wow. Ooh, I love a bracelet. Okay. So the gambling industry is big, big, big deal. Almost 500 billion. Really? 500 billion. That's a lot of money. Projected, right, is projected to be 1.4 trillion by 2030. Wow. 1.4 trillion. For me, that's a really, really difficult number to try and visualize. I mean, how many blimmin' zeros are there? Everybody wants to be a millionaire, but now trillions? Wow, goodness gracious. Right, okay. Okay, I think the pandemic really pushed up the amount of people getting involved with online gambling and gambling in general. We'll get on to the pandemic. Maybe I should just do a whole podcast on pandemic. Right, what is the psychology behind it? Is it fun? Well, I think gambling is made fun by the excitement and the risk of winning and losing, you know? And all the bells and whistles and pretty ladies and all these things meant to make us feel excited and happy when we're gambling. And the psychology of it, the psychology that I think there are more men gamblers than women in general, and maybe it's because men take more risks. Maybe men have more adrenaline-seeking adventures. I don't know. Okay, is it safe? So with poverty increasing, gambling are high risks. Okay, so we talked about this before, about how our vulnerable people in society made some bad decisions or had some bad luck in their lives, and that's why they're in this situation. But often just a few bad decisions or even, like I said, bad luck, you start questioning your decision making, and I can imagine it's quite easy. I think it's quite easy to think, well, if I just gamble and I win, and then I can sort this problem out, I can fix that problem, and then I won't have this problem, and all my worries will be gone and it'll be fixed. I just need to do this. So I can imagine that gambling is a high reward with very low level barrier for entry. I mean, in the UK, you can buy a lottery ticket or a scratch card for £1, £1 British, which is like €1. You know, so long as you're over 16 years of age, you could potentially end up winning millions. You could win £20 million just from a £1 bet or a £1 lottery ticket. So low barrier for entry, but potentially so much to win. Now, occasionally I've bought a scratch card, but I don't gamble poker. I don't put money on the horses or the dogs, and I don't gamble with cards in the street, you know, like chase the ace or find the queen and stuff like that. I don't bother with any of that. Now, that might be because I'm a very addictive personality and I know that's not a good place for me to go. Or it might be the case that I'm very logical and I know the odds are stacked against me. Or it might be the fact that I just don't feel excited by the bells and whistles and lights and excited. It doesn't draw me in. Maybe that's the reason. I'm not sure. But for a lot of people, this can have some severe and dire consequences. Once you start getting into debt and you borrow more money to gamble more, and you end up losing more, and things can get rapidly out of hand. It doesn't take a long time for somebody to rack up thousands and thousands of pounds worth of debt. We see it in TV shows and dramas on the telly, and most of us have known somebody like that. Or we see the betting shops in our high street and the kind of people that go in and out of there. Some of them are looking like they've made some bad decisions in life, or they've had some bad luck in life. Interesting, I use the term luck. No pun intended. All right. So, the psychology of it, and is it safe? Well, we come back to the old adage that I regurgitate time and time again, that an informed adult being able to make those choices and decisions for themselves is one thing, and having an addictive personality is another. Some people will use it like drugs as a crutch to help them cope with their life, the life that they're not happy with. Maybe they've got a really crappy job. Maybe they're in a bad relationship at home. And this might be the only excitement and thrill they get. Everybody that's an adult can make an informed decision. And unfortunately, some people have that addictive personality that can spiral out of control very, very quickly and can lead to all sorts of issues and problems, much the same as alcohol and drugs. Gambling is something that can really change the mental state of many human beings from a normal, average kind of person. And then they get more and more sucked into gambling. Once they start losing, they feel they need to keep going because they've been told that consistency is the answer to getting more regular wins. And so they really get stuck and planted in the idea they're going to win it all back. Just one more bet, just one more, and then I can win so much back. And often it tends to elevate the stakes higher and higher and higher and higher until the money is astronomical. And it can take a long, long time to sort your life out once you go down that spiral. It's very difficult. Okay, but is it safe? Well, is anything safe, really? You could argue that about anything. So it is safe. And like I say, everybody is an adult of the age of 18, can make an informed decision. Poverty, increasing, gambling, high risks, informed adults, yes, no. Like I said about poverty again, people tend to make more irrational decisions when they're under a lot of pressure and they feel there may be only one way out, and that could be to gamble. I think like alcohol and drugs, that if you try to ban it from a society it will just go underground. And I think people, adults, have a proclivity to search for that rebellious underground thing that you're not supposed to do. I think America especially has had a history of where it's apparent that men just want to do these things. They want to gamble. They want to take drugs. Sorry, not men. Just people in general. A small percentage of society want to do these things, these rebellious things. They feel a connection with it, a drive with it to gamble or take drugs or to drink a lot of alcohol. Some people just have that addictive personality. And I think it's in a lot of societies, that a percentage of people will do this. So if you take away the taboo and you don't destroy people's lives, sometimes people can maintain this behavior for many, many decades and lead good, progressive lives. But it is an addictive, something that's very, very addictive and very easy to get stuck into and spiral away. Much like anything, really, with a little bit of adrenaline attached or a bit of taboo attached, it can spiral quickly. Or some people just move through it, move past it. Right, crime and the dark web. Again, if it's illegal, then and a part of society, a percentage of society will be searching for it anyway. That's where crime can get its dirty little mitts into. That's where crime tends to breed, where people want to do something they feel natural and normal, such as gambling or drinking or a little bit of recreational drugs. Crime creeps in and crime pays for it, and crime often organizes it. So I suppose you could say that it's the same for governments. If government get involved and they tax everything, then they're organizing it as well in a way. Difficult one, difficult. Crime can be in everything, especially anything a little bit shady. Right, children, young adults, vulnerable individuals. So sometimes people with learning disabilities are often given a taste of adult life. Now, this could be a contentious topic where I say that an adult, maybe 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever age, with learning disabilities, often has a mental age of somebody a lot younger. So you could have an adult of 22, but maybe with a mental age of, say, 7 or 8 or 9 years old. Now, often you'll find in care homes and in other care sectors, management and people will try to give that person a very normal life and will often not introduce them to cigarettes, but will often offer them alcohol. Now, there's two sides to this. One side is, yes, they're an adult. They're allowed to have alcohol if they want, much like I can have a can of Coke if I want. But it's difficult to understand if you've given a person with learning disabilities full abilities or idea that they can make an informed decision. You and I can make an informed decision whether we want to do this or not. But can a person with learning disabilities make an informed decision? I've seen many, many people with learning disabilities and Down syndrome and other ailments make the decision to eat very unhealthy food for long periods of time. So in the UK, you'll see lots of overweight people that have learning disabilities. One might say, no, let's not go there. So, yeah, is gambling a good idea to introduce to children? I mean, you can't buy a scratch card unless you're over 16, and you can't gamble in other places like casinos or fruit machines in a pub until you're over 18 years old. So you have to be an adult and be able to make that informed decision. So, Yeah. Would a person with learning disabilities have that same ability? Would you want your children to gamble? Would you give your children their allowance? Let's pretend for a moment you have an allowance for your child of, let's say, £5 a week. Your child is 14 years old, and they're in the restaurant with you, and in the corner of the restaurant or bar restaurant, there's a fruit machine, what we call a fruit machine. Gambling. Would you give them their money and say, yeah, you carry on, you spend it on that fruit machine, and then waste it all, come back with no money? Would you allow that for your child? Would you recommend that? Would you say it's a good idea? Would you do it yourself with your child watching? Would you let your child watch you win and lose at a fruit machine, at a gambling machine? Do you gamble online with your children around and with your children watching? You know, it's a very difficult area to discuss, because everybody's got their own opinion, their own ideas about what's a good role model. You know, your children watch you do everything. They're around you all the time, and they're looking and learning and listening. Very clever children, very, very clever. We don't give them enough credit for just how clever they are. So, informed decision, not at 14 years old, they can't. Vulnerable adults and children, I kind of put in the same group, because they're kind of vulnerable. They're vulnerable to crime. They're vulnerable to be taken advantage of. Now, is gambling and using a fruit machine being taken advantage of? Are you easily persuaded if you're a vulnerable person? So if a 15-year-old boy wastes his allowance in a fruit machine, is it okay for a 22-year-old vulnerable adult with learning disabilities to waste all of his benefits or all of his financial money into gambling? Should he be allowed to make that decision? Is he really making an informed choice? I'd imagine at some point somebody in the best interest of that young person, that person with learning disability, will end up taking the money off of them and working out a financial plan where they can budget effectively without getting caught in that gambling trap. Okay. Addiction, right, support groups, awareness, rehabilitation, social acceptance, normalized, and even institutionalized, such as the lottery, the Grand National, postcode lottery, and raffles. Now, I think maybe raffles is a step too far. Or is a raffle a stepping stone to gambling? And if your children are watching you pay money for a ticket, that you might win a prize, you might not. Is that the beginning steps of showing your children how to gamble? Putting a bet on the national lottery, sorry, not national lottery, on the Grand National. So in the UK, we have one famous horse race every year. And it's like the biggest horse race in the whole country. And lots of people talk about it. It's on the news and things like this. It's just one really, really big race, very famous. And it's called the Grand National. And it's, I don't want to say customary, but it's almost a national tradition that people bet on a horse at the Grand National. You know, it's been happening for many, many, many years, and it's very normalized, and almost institutionalized, where people put a bet on every year. They don't gamble all year round, but the Grand National, I'll put a bet on. That's what people say. So it's kind of normalized and it's institutionalized. It's accepted by society. A little bit of gambling is accepted. Raffles are accepted. National lottery is accepted. Maybe a scratch card is accepted. But going into a bookies is a little bit frowned upon. Ooh, that's a step too far for most people in the UK. Ooh, they frowned upon it. But what about support groups and awareness of the addiction? There's a lot of awareness for alcoholism and awareness for drug abuse, and making people aware. But there's not a lot of support groups and awareness for people that are addicted to gambling. Why is that? Is it because it's a dirty secret that drugs are bad, alcohol is bad, but gambling, it's okay. If it's the Grand National, the National Lottery, the postcode lottery and scratch, yeah, those ones are allowed, so we won't frown upon those. Ugh, I don't know. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Right then. So what about all the money these gambling companies make? What are they doing with this money? Are they just putting it all in their pocket for profits? Now, in the UK, we have this national lottery, very similar to the American national lottery, I guess, where it's been registered and it's, you know, the government has given it the okay. And millions of people in the UK participate in this gambling of the national lottery. And don't get me wrong, there are some really good parts to the national lottery in that they fund a lot of charities for like village halls and communities and giving money back to the community, but probably only a percentage. Better than nothing, I suppose. But I'd have to say that there's millions of people that are struggling financially, that are caught and stuck and hooked into, like a fish, this gambling, this legalized, accepted, normalized, institutionalized gambling of the national lottery. Oh, they say we got this, we give money back to charities, we've done this, we've done that. So they're spouting and they're chatting a lot about how much they give back to charities, how much they're helping communities. Every week on the TV, they say, yay, we've given this much millions to this charity and helping millions of people. But on the other hand, they're getting people hooked in with their advertisements of spending £5, £10, £20 on the lottery every single week. And unfortunately, it's often the vulnerable individuals that get sucked into this dream that you're going to win big, that you're going to win millions. And somebody does win millions. Somebody will win millions. But with around 60 billion people, is that right? No. 60 million people? Maybe that's the number. 60 million people in the UK. Must be more than that. Oh, I don't know. Whatever the number is. With all these people in the UK, the likelihood of you winning and the statistics in your that are for you to win are very, very, very low. They say that you get struck by lightning twice before you could win the lottery. So the odds are very, very stacked against you. Really, really bad. I think I think it's like 60 million people in the UK. And the chances of that is so, what? Let's say something like 40 million to 1. Something crazy like that. Like I said, I'm not an expert. But they do a lot of greenwashing, lip service. Oh, we help this community, we help that community. But they're actually taking millions off of vulnerable people that are struggling. And they're sucked into this dream and this hope. Oh, I'm going to win the lottery, I'm going to win the lottery, I'm going to win the lottery. And you don't. Because the odds are so far stacked against you. This is a company, a business, making millions and millions and millions of pounds. And they're giving back just a small fraction of that. Maybe if they gave back 10% of that, they're keeping 90% for themselves. So they're preying, as we say, preying on the vulnerable and those that are in most need for gambling and to pay for their luxury cars. It's really bad that our government allow this big company, this organization, I think it's called Camelot, to prey on the vulnerable people. And I don't know, if it wasn't Camelot, it'd be somebody else, but it seems wrong that there's so much profit being made off the backs of vulnerable people, people that are in the depths of struggling to pay their rent and feed their families. Like I said in the other video about the food banks are extremely overwhelmed because so many people are struggling to find the money to feed their family. People are going in debt all the time, you know, and yet we're sold this dream of buy a lottery ticket. You have to be in it to win it. Ooh, you could be a millionaire. I don't know. Maybe you could say it's their own fault for buying a ticket. I don't know. It's crazy. Where do you draw the line to protect your citizens of your country? It's a shame. All right, that's enough of the negative. What about the positive sides? So like I said, there's a lot of money going into charity that might not have been otherwise. There might have been. Government might say, yes, give 10% to charity. I don't know. But looking at somewhere completely different, and one way that gambling has changed the lives of a lot of people for the benefit and for the positive would be, for a good example would be the native Indians in America. Now, they've had some laws passed because they have their sovereignty of their land, their heritage land. They can do as they please. And many of them have set up their own casinos. And so many Americans are going into the Indian lands, playing in the casinos where, again, the odds are stacked against them. And they play for maybe a longer period of time and have drinks and stay the night and whatever else. And then they go home broke. And they go home, but all the money is going into the Native American Indian pocket, which is great, you know. Finally, they're getting something back, you might say. So there's hope, right, for those communities. Not just bringing money into the community, you know, like I said, with the bars and the hotels and the taxis and the food and the restaurants and the entertainment and taxes. You know, the whole big industry around this casino is helping the Native American Indians. It really does drive growth and economy, develop skills. And then on an individual level, they say, now don't quote me, they say that gambling helps mental acuity. Your mental ability gets stronger and better with the more gambling you do. The excitement and the risk releases endorphins into your body, which fights stress, makes you feel good and happy and gives you like a gambler's high. And they say, according to professionals, continued consistency and moderation is the key to a career in gambling. So online gambling can pay dividends in the long run if you do it in moderation and with a plan. So there is some positives for gambling in one aspect. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you gamble? Do you have casinos in your country? What about the lottery? Do you have the national lottery in your country? What do you think about the less fortunate people, those that are struggling financially? Do you think that's fine? Do you think that's okay? You know, it gets me worked up. Let's just finish on the positives. Some people are doing very well out of gambling. Let's just leave it at that. Right, have you got any thoughts, ideas, any stories? Share them in the comments, let us know. So, as always, have fun learning English, otherwise you're not going to learn English. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.